Hi everyone, welcome to the Halstead studio. This is Hilary and I am really excited to be here with a super special guest at Halstead today. All right, hi everybody.
Hi.
Hi, we are so excited that Niki Grandics of NG Studio Jewelry is here with us at Halstead in Prescott, Arizona this week.
I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, thank you for coming.
Yeah.
We love having you out. It's been such a fun week. So Niki's been here. She did some artist talks for our staff, and she's been touring Halstead and hanging out in Prescott. So what do you think so far?
It's a beautiful little city. Everybody here has been super nice, and just really, it's a great group of people working here.
We think so too. We love our gang. So anyways, today we're doing the Q&A about the Halstead Grant, and then we'll put away that big frame so we're not hiding behind it.
Yeah.
So this is just going to be a casual conversation about the grant. So you guys are welcome to ask questions. I'm going to ask Niki some questions. She might ask me some questions. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But Niki, of course, was our winner in 2016. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're so excited to award this honor to Niki. She so deserves all this recognition. And she was also a finalist in 2015, which you may not know. So she was a finalist one year and she ended up winning the next, which sometimes happens and sometimes doesn't. You never know. So Niki, tell us, how did you find out about the grant?
So I found out about it first through school when I was an undergrad. One of my professors had applied for the grant for his own line, and I kind of knew about it then. I just kind of put it away for then. I was still in school. I didn't have a business, and I wasn't quite sure where I was going to go after that. But definitely after I started my line, I saw more about it on Facebook and was just like, okay, yep, need to apply to this.
Now it's time, huh? The time was right. So where did you go to school, just for people who aren't familiar with your work?
I went to San Diego State and then did GIA's graduate jeweler program after that.
That's awesome. Yeah, you have a lot of great training and background.
Yeah, no, I'm super lucky to have gone to both of those.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So tell me about, what you remember thinking back like a year ago. It was probably around this time or a little after. So you started your grant application, and tell me what were your first thoughts when you were getting started?
Since I was a finalist the year before, I got a lot of really great and useful feedback from the judging panel. So I was able to use some of that to fine-tune some of the application, and then also just in that year, I had kind of changed some of my own plans around of what I really wanted to do with my brand and my business, and I was able to kind of just make all of those changes in the business plan.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, it's nice to be able to have a starting place. So if you've done, some work on your business or your strategy in the past, you don't have to start from scratch sometimes, right?
Yeah, sometimes it is just periodically revisiting and, okay, sure, you have a plan of okay, in the next 3 years, this is what I'm going to do. But, as we all know, plans change.
Plans change all the time, right?
Yeah,
they change all the time.
Exactly, but it's good to have that time to set aside to really just think about it and be able to strategize what those changes are and how you actually, what are the steps to achieve those goals.
Yeah, that's true. So what was most challenging for you when you were kind of starting the application, maybe the first time? Or do you remember being stumped by any specific sections?
Yeah, a little bit, especially kind of the 3-year projections.
Yeah, that's a big chunk of time,
that
right?
Was,
looking ahead 3 years.
Yeah, it's a big chunk of time to look ahead for, and especially if it's not something you've ever just sat down and done before, it's that's probably the most daunting task in the whole thing. Is oh wow, okay, I really need to think about kind of all of my anticipated costs. What are my anticipated revenues? Am I going to be selling wholesale mostly, retail? How does that all look? So yeah, that was probably the biggest chunk for me.
The biggest time where you just have to spend some time thinking, right?
Yeah.
Right, for sure. Okay, so I don't know, when you're thinking back, what were some of the resources or things you found helpful as you were working your way through the application?
Definitely one of the best resources was just reaching out to other people, former professors, former employers, and just asking for help.
Ask for help.
Yeah.
There's a lot of help out there,
There
right?
is a lot of help out there.
Yeah.
And otherwise, you don't know something, Google, YouTube, all of these are
You can
great.
YouTube anything now,
I
right?
know.
Anything at all. It's true, right?
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that's so intimidating about this application, we hear from a lot of people that they start reading through the questions and they say, I don't know these answers,
Yeah.
And I guess my biggest message to people thinking about applying is we don't expect you to know the answers. Part of the grant, why it's beneficial, is to kind of give you time and a purpose, a reason to like research those questions and think about those things.
Exactly.
So it's a process.
It is, and I mean, it is important of like, if you are really doing this as your business, that you do have to think of these things of like, what is my pricing strategy? What's my target market? How do I reach them? It's really important to just sit down and think of these questions, because it changes kind of your mentality, that you're not like, okay, I'm just going to make these things and try to sell them. Like, okay, who am I selling to? Where do they shop? What kind of things do they buy? And you go from there, and it's a really useful tool.
Yeah, it starts to come together.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you have to be honest and tell me the truth.
Okay.
So, how much time did you spend on your application? Like, what did it look like? Did you start at 10 o'clock at night and like stay up all night, or did it come to you in little pieces over a few weeks? How did you approach the application?
Well, first time I applied, I wasn't really sure if I was going to be able to make the deadline, or I mean, some of the questions I'm like, I don't really know the answer to this, or like, am I really ready to apply for something like this? And then after I met you at Snag and you encouraged me to apply, I went home and pretty much did...
apply!
Yeah, definitely apply. But I pretty much just went home and did like nothing else for a week besides write a business plan.
Yeah, it takes some time, right?
It does.
You do have to put some time and thought into it.
It's not something I would leave for the last minute by any means.
Yeah, but some people do.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work out, but some people do. But I think, however you approach it, whether you're last minute or you're planning way ahead, like you said, I think it's valuable to spend the time thinking about these things. Even if you're not new to your business, sometimes it's really great to revisit some of these questions. So I'm going to put you on the spot now, because we added a new question this year.
What's the new question?
Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay, so tell me what some of the key visual elements are of your collection, and maybe some of the keywords you would use to describe your visual image.
Okay, so probably the key elements of my collection is a lot of contrast, and I use a lot of rough stones and a lot of really geometric details to kind of highlight those contrasts. I would say that's probably one of the biggest visual elements, and in terms of just words to describe it for branding, it tends to be modern, minimal, edgy, sustainable, and those are kind of like the keywords that
I think
bring into a lot of it.
That encapsulates things so perfectly. So we're both wearing lots of Niki's work today.
Oh yeah, no
Beautiful.
earrings this time.
Beautiful things. Niki, where are your earrings? But I think that's really important to be able to articulate, what your brand image is, what your collection communicates. Those are important parts of designing for sale, right?
Yeah, and I mean, even just have it, like, that's a really good question to have in there, because lately I've been doing so much work kind of on the marketing and the PR side, and really nobody tells you how much you have to write as a jeweler.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that is true.
Yeah.
Well, and just to be able to speak about your work. We were talking about this earlier, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it is so hard to speak about yourself and express your brand messages comfortably, right? It takes practice.
It does. It definitely does.
Yeah. So what are some good ways to kind of get practice, getting comfortable, with selling yourself and your line? What's worked for you?
Well, with myself, I've always just kind of like thrown myself into the deep end, and
You're brave.
I mean, I force myself to do that, and then I mean, you have to come out of your comfort zone and really just find a way to articulate it and kind of turn that on, and like the more you do it, the more comfortable it gets.
Yeah, practice for
Yeah,
sure,
definitely.
right? I don't think it always comes naturally,
No, it
and
doesn't.
Especially with a lot of creative people, some people are naturally outgoing, some people are naturally more shy and timid, and I think it's important to know that it's a skill you can build, even if it doesn't come easily, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it didn't come easily for me either.
No, not for me.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier, doing this video, and just interviews and speaking and things like that. It can be really uncomfortable, and I think it's totally normal that that's a little bit scary.
Yeah, it is.
But it's part of the business too.
It is. I mean, you can't really have a successful business these days and not put yourself out there.
Yep, you gotta put yourself out there a little bit, little by little, huh?
Yeah,
little by little. All right, so it's been almost a year since you won. How's that 3-year plan coming?
It's going. I mean, like I said, things always change. So even just in this year, I have some things like Fashion Week, for instance, or Metal and Smith that weren't originally in my business plan, but I mean, since then, those opportunities have come up, and it's like, okay, you know, that really would be useful with kind of exposing my brand to a bigger line. And I think I don't think I anticipated quite how much resources I would be putting into just marketing and PR too.
That's true, time and money, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and planning for shows and getting ready, right?
Yeah. So I mean, definitely in the next couple months, I'm giving myself until the grant deadline to also just kind of revisit it and kind of make those tweaks again and kind of...
Yeah, you're always tweaking, right?
Exactly.
I mean, just because you make a plan doesn't mean that you
you have to like follow it to the letter.
Yeah, but goal setting I think is such an important exercise, and it's so useful in keeping yourself accountable. I use goal setting a lot for myself and in our business. And it's amazing how powerful it is just to put something down in writing as a goal. And then all of a sudden plans start to kind of come together around that, and you think about the steps you need to get there. So goal setting is something that I think should be an ongoing part of any business, right?
Absolutely.
So whether you call it a 3-year plan or an annual goal or, you know, just
and also,
whatever.
With goals too, of just really keeping it to something that's like, okay, this is attainable, there's a time frame to it, that kind of, that keeps you accountable instead of just being like, okay, well, I'm gonna do Paris Fashion Week.
Yeah.
And you know, there's no time for that. They're like,
it's true, right? And even writing things down, I think, is powerful.
Exactly.
I even I print out my goals. I'm such a geek. I'm such a business geek. I do this. I print out my goals. You can look, and I tape them to my monitor every quarter, so that they're staring me in the face all the time. And it seems silly and trite, but that sort of stuff, it really works.
It does.
And some days when I'm feeling like I'm not really focused or I'm not accomplishing anything, like it's right there, and I just kind of start looking at it again, and it's like, okay, yeah, I can do this today, and it's going to help with, you know, this goal number 2 that I had set out for myself. It makes a difference, right?
It really does.
It does make a difference. So let's circle back, because we talked a little bit about like resources and if you were getting started tackling, you know, this grant application or just a business plan in general.
Yeah.
So there are things out there, right? Like we don't all have to reinvent the wheel.
No.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, because we had a good conversation earlier about tools when you're, you know, looking to start a business from scratch, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy right there, just thinking about starting a business from nothing.
It is.
It is. So you said you Googled, right? That's like, that's where we all start with anything right now. Google.
Yeah, Google it.
Yay for Google, right?
I know.
So after you Googled, like, which things that you found on Google or wherever, like, which things did you find especially helpful?
I found some good, like, podcasts and stuff, like, from, like, Flourish and Thrive was one. Strategy Works and Mentor Works also had some really good ones. Some books, like Profiting by Design. It's pretty general, but it does really just break it down. Like, a business plan isn't this, you know, huge scary thing. It is, like in this grant, it's kind of a series of questions you ask yourself and have to answer.
Right, one step at a time, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so you mentioned some really great things there. I love that, Profiting by Design is by Marlene Ritchie. It's an awesome book. You can get at a lot of bookstores or through Amazon. Yeah. That is a fantastic resource, and Marlene has great experience in the industry. She owned a gallery. She's worked with jewelers for years and seen a lot of great success stories. So that's a tremendous resource. You know, $20 for a book. You don't have to spend a lot of money.
No.
I think, let's see, what else did you mention? Flourish and Thrive. Oh my gosh. Tracy and Robin at Flourish and Thrive are amazing, and they have so much content that is totally free.
Yeah.
And that's a great place to start. You know, if you're getting more into your business and you're looking for more detail, they also have some paid programs, which are amazing and totally worth the money. But there's a lot out there for free through Flourish and Thrive too, to kind of get you started and get you thinking about issues. And tell me about, you said Strategy Works, and what was the second one?
Mentor Works. It's
Mentor Works. Tell me about those.
I'm so embarrassed that I'm kind of blanking on her name right now. But some of it was, about like financial planning, for instance, for your business.
It's not a fun topic. But
it's not a fun topic, but I mean, it is part of it. Yeah,
it is. It is. And sometimes you got to do this stuff that's not fun too, right?
I know.
Eat your vegetables.
Yeah.
Eat your vegetables.
I know, or even for, I forget, a while ago I was looking for some sort of jewelry specific accounting help, and it turns out there's a website called Accounting for Jewelers.
Accounting for Jewelers is a great resource too. Miriam's amazing, and I think that's a really good one to bring up.
Yeah.
I would add Emily Shapiro's book to the list too. Emily Shapiro just came out with a great book just this year. And what's the title, ladies? Can you remember?
We can look it up.
Emily's book is fantastic. So we're going to look up the title name because it's escaping me at the moment.
Okay.
But that's a really great starter guide too.
Yeah.
And what else did we talk about? The Small Business Administration.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Small business administration has offices in most major cities, even some small cities. And those are resources that are usually free as well, right?
Yeah.
Have you used an SBA counselor?
I haven't, but I have reached out for kind of more specific things, or again, just like ask questions. I've asked former professors, bosses, people I know through GIA or the WJA, or I'm not sure if I had asked anyone through SNAG specifically, but that there's all these people out there, and worst case scenario, either they don't know, in which case they might know someone who does,
They're installing solar panels today, so we have like crashing noises on the roof. Sorry for the bump.
No. Or again, like if you don't get an answer, you're just exactly where you currently are.
That's
I mean,
right.
you don't lose anything from asking.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's a big part of being in business in general, is just learning to ask, right? Work the network, ask people for advice or feedback. That's so valuable. Did you get that book
You
title?
don't have to be an expert in everything, and you're never going to be an expert in everything.
Never.
Emily's book is How to Create Your Own Jewelry Line.
How to Create Your Own Jewelry Line by Emily Shapiro. That's a great book too. Thanks so much for looking that up. So we were just saying ask for help, right? The network, feedback, that's so valuable in business. I still do that. I mean, all the time. I'm calling people up and saying, has this happened to you? Do you have experience with this? And there's no shame in that at all.
No.
Nobody has all the answers.
No.
Yeah, so I think that's what we were trying to do with the Halstead Grant application, is kind of walk people through that thought process and break it down into steps, so it's a little bit less daunting. If you look at all the questions, it can be overwhelming, but when you start just one step at a time, you have something to either research or start thinking about, mull it over a little bit, right? Yeah. All right, how's it going, ladies? Any other questions from out there in Facebook land?
I don't see any questions yet, so come on with your questions, everybody. Viewers, bring them
If
on.
you have any questions, let us know.
We want to talk right to you about what you're planning. I think I'd like to hear about what was something that was really difficult about, or that you thought might be difficult, which turned out to be a really rewarding part of the grant process. I know that's a tough one, but I think the whole application is pretty rigorous.
Yeah.
But it's something that you can use, like you said, in your business.
Sometimes you surprise yourself, right?
Yeah, you really do.
Yeah. So what do you think? Anything stand out in your memory?
Let's see. Probably looking at the competition and your pricing strategy, because it is such a fragmented industry, and you have like bigger fashion lines with their jewelry collections. You have a ton of independent designers, and even within independent designers, you have some that are just doing bridal jewelry, some that are doing fashion jewelry, and kind of just everything in between too. So it's good to take a look at that too, and kind of really take the time to see what else is out there and how other people are kind of approaching it.
Yeah, so how did that work for you? Like, what did you find when you started looking at that issue?
Let's see. It was really difficult to narrow down too, of like who I would really consider a competition, just because again, like all the aesthetics are different too. Like the person who's buying for me probably isn't the same person who's buying like really bohemian style jewelry. So it took kind of narrowing it down to like, okay, this is kind of the similar materials, kind of similar price point, kind of similar aesthetic. Okay, so maybe I'll consider these guys. I'll check out kind of what they're doing, and what am I doing that's different? How am I going to differentiate my jewelry from what's already out there?
Right. And I think that brings up a really great point when we're talking about pricing. Jewelry is such a vast industry, right? So, I mean, you have things priced from a few dollars to, thousands and thousands of dollars, right?
Exactly.
So where do you fit in that spectrum? It's a lot to think about, but I think there's also a lot of space in that field, right? So you don't need to feel like you have to hit a certain number.
Oh, no.
You can, there's a lot of playing ground. It's just a matter of positioning yourself.
We have a question.
Okay.
All right, what you got?
All right, so Kristen Baird wants to know, what was different the second year you applied versus the first? Did you have any sections that you majorly overhauled, or did you focus on certain areas more during the second year?
I probably focused more on certain areas. I really took kind of the feedback that I got the first year and made sure that I incorporated all of those points. Like, some of it was just with kind of how I defined my target market, that they were like, okay, this is all good, like sort of demographic information of like this age, this income, these cities,
Mm-hmm.
but kind of get more into the psychographics and like, you know, kind of the life of your client. Like,
Right.
what do they do? What do they love?
Mm-hmm. I think that's true, and I think what's so useful about psychographics is it makes your marketing plan just kind of come into place
It
when
does.
you start thinking about your target audience in a really specific way. You start realizing, you know, what words you should use to describe
Exactly.
your work, like what's going to appeal to them, and where are their habits and shopping patterns taking them already that you can kind of fit yourself in. So,
Yeah.
you know, the example everybody's really familiar with in the trade today is, you know, if you're appealing to people who are really into health and wellness and fitness
Exactly.
and into the yoga culture, you know, right away you can think of, you know, yoga publications, yoga studios, like all these places that fit into this lifestyle, and those are all opportunities for collaborations or cross promotions or things you can do in your marketing.
Yeah.
So, you know, the yoga example is something that's done a lot, but I encourage people to really get creative about what other parallels are there out there in your customers' lifestyles that you can kind
Exactly.
of tap into creatively without a lot of money sometimes, right? We've done some amazing cross promotions with businesses, you know, doing services and other things just because, you know, your audience may line up and it's fun to collaborate together. I mean,
It
people
is.
really love that kind of marketing. It's really rewarding as a business to be able to partner with another organization.
Exactly.
Like, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, so that's a great question. That's a really great question.
That is a good question.
Yeah, and what I would add too for people who are reapplying, because we do get people who reapply every year, which is wonderful. We really want to see progress.
Yeah.
But what I would encourage you to do too, if you're reapplying, is don't just submit the same application again, you know? So really look at things critically. Like she said, look at that feedback, but use it as a place to kind of build out.
Yeah.
And, you know, just keep developing, because whether you win the grant or not, that's going to help you in your business,
Exactly.
right? Yeah, so kind of fill in those places you felt a little unsure about last year. And sometimes I think a year of perspective and experience,
It makes a huge difference.
it makes a huge difference, right?
Yeah.
Like you learn so much in a year.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, some of those early lessons, some are fun and some are not fun, right?
Yeah.
But you learn a lot over the course of a year.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting sometimes to look back at what you wrote, right?
Oh yeah.
So what did you learn in that, like, year gap? I mean, I imagine there were some things that you went through that kind
Yeah.
of changed your perspective a little bit.
Yeah, there definitely were. And I mean, I think what was kind of missing for me from the beginning was like, okay, you know, it's a business. I love to make jewelry. I love to design. But ultimately, kind of like, what is the purpose
That's a great
Of-
question.
of me doing all of this?
Yeah.
And I forget where I heard this quote, but it was that profit is a result and not a purpose. And definitely it made me think of like what I want to accomplish with my work, and giving back was kind of really the missing piece for me.
That's cool, yeah.
And like how I can use my business and my jewelry to kind of help make the world a better place.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important, like understanding your mission.
Yeah.
You know, why are you in business? Because as an entrepreneur, we all have reasons
Yeah.
that we do this, right? I mean, it's not a default setting to like
No.
start a business, right? This
No,
is
it's
very
not.
much a conscious choice. Like you have to be taking on some serious risks
Exactly.
and challenges to do this. So why are you doing this? I
Yeah.
think that's a great question. And sometimes it's not always immediately clear to us until
No.
you kind of spend some time thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, it took me
Yeah.
probably a year of just kind of working through it and being like, okay, you know, this is what I need to add.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, and
Yeah.
it doesn't come quickly sometimes. So
Yeah.
let's talk about entrepreneurship a little bit, because I think
Yeah.
that brings up some great questions. Like, what are some of the pros and cons of running your own business? I think you
Yeah.
and I both have a lot of experience with this at this
Yeah.
point, right? Okay, so what are the good things? Tell me the good things.
The good things are definitely, like, there is a degree of freedom with it.
Yeah.
And you get to do things kind of the way that you want to do them. It gives you a lot of opportunity to just build it, I feel like you grow as a person with it too.
Yeah.
And I feel like I just end up learning something new every day.
I think that's true, yeah.
But I mean, I did kind of go back and forth for a long time of like, do I really want to run my own business? I grew up with parents that were entrepreneurs too, and
Yeah.
so you do see, and I know you did too with your family's business. So you do see a lot of the trade-offs also.
Yeah, there are a lot of trade-offs. It's not for everyone. There's no question.
No, it's not.
Yeah, and I think you raised some great points, and I would totally agree. Like, there's a self-determination aspect that I think is super fulfilling as a business owner. And ownership, and I don't just mean that like in a financial sense.
Yeah.
Ownership is a much bigger word in terms of what the business means to you, and you know how important it is to you and your identity and what you believe and stand for. And those choices that you make have real impact on the people around you, whether they're customers or employees or suppliers. Like, you really feel impact in what you do. And I love that. I think that's an amazing thing to wake up to every day.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love that feeling. So downsides, what do you think?
Downsides, that there isn't always this stability. Is that like things change all the time, and sometimes it is a little all over the place, and you do find yourself, especially in the beginning, kind of wearing all the hats. Like, you know, sure, you're the jeweler, you're the CEO, you're the janitor, you're everything.
You are everything. I think that's true. And what I would add to that too is, like, there's no manual.
No, there's definitely no
There's
instruction
no manual. And kind of like the buck stops with you a lot of times, right?
Yeah.
When it's like, okay, we have to figure out customs clearance in Nairobi this week. Here we go. You know, we're gonna figure that out, right? You Google it, you YouTube it, you call people. You know, you do whatever you got to do. You figure it out.
I know.
And I think that's a real skill amongst entrepreneurs, and something you have to be. You know, maybe not comfortable with right away, but willing to tackle. Like, you're constantly faced with unknowns and things that, you know, there is no quick answer for. So you got to be willing to kind of, you know, fight it out, or, you know, really take on the challenge and get an answer or come up with a solution, which I think is super fun too, right? It's like all this problem solving. Yeah, it is. And I love that part of my job. Every day is different.
Every day's different. I'm definitely never bored.
Never bored. Never bored. No. I agree. Like, I think that's really exciting.
Yeah.
And it makes work a lot of fun.
It does.
Yeah. What else about entrepreneurship? What do you guys think?
Yeah.
You've worked in a small business. Katie and Mercedes are here with us today.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone. We're hiding back here.
They're hiding behind. We'll make them come out later.
I think one thing that people don't think about is just the number of hours that it's going to take you to get established, and how you said you wear all the hats. It's so true.
It is true. And that's a great point. Like, entrepreneurship is never 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 or whatever.
No.
There is no such thing as like a work day.
No, I mean, if your customer emails you at, you know, 11 at night on a Friday or something.
Yeah, I imagine you guys have experienced this too, right?
Yeah, but it's like, okay, I still need to reply to this.
Yeah, but with that, there's like some barriers you have to establish, like balance, right? Balance in entrepreneurship is a big issue. And I'm always like negotiating those like personal barriers of when do I like not look at my phone and like put it away.
I know,
right?
Yeah, it's tough to figure out.
I know, and it's hard to put it away sometimes.
I know, it really is.
We just had a question about talking about the grant, and so can you go over just the nuts and bolts of
the grant and what it is?
We're talking about the Halstead Grant today.
That's right, yes. So we are talking about the Halstead Grant, and if some of you are just tuning in, I know, my bad, I wrote 1:30 on a couple of things with the time for today, and you can go back and watch this whole video. It's all going to be posted to Facebook. But we are talking about the Halstead Grant for 2017. The Halstead Grant is a competition for emerging jewelry artists who started their business within the last 3 years. So Niki Grandics is our winner from last year, and she's here answering questions about that whole process and what it's like. You win as the winner of the grant. You get $7,500 in startup capital as cash, and then a $1,000 credit for Halstead supplies for findings, chain, whatever you need. To build out your collection, and then PR and a lot of, feedback from the judges and other benefits. And we're going to talk more about that in a minute. But we also are really, we recognize all of our top 10 finalists now. There's such depth and talent out there in the jewelry industry. Anyone who's been a finalist in the Halstead Grant is amazing. I mean, these are really talented designers with great business savvy. Finalists are recognized with $500 in cash if you're a top 5 finalist, and $250 in cash if you're a top 10 finalist. And we're really trying to kind of build out this program every year in terms of development and support around, what we can do for emerging artists. So let's talk about the experience like after you won.
Yeah.
Because we haven't really touched on that yet. Like,
no.
You get a check, which is cool.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that helps you build out your business a little bit.
Definitely.
Like, what are some of the things you did with that capital, with that money?
Some of that was to kind of start another line with that was kind of at a slightly higher price point too, with gold or like gold accents, diamonds. So that was really helpful. I was also able to move my business out of my house.
Yay.
So that was also amazing.
Yay. That we were just talking about personal barriers, right?
Exactly.
And balance. That's important for some people. Some people can work at home fine.
Oh,
I can't do it either.
No, that was not. There's way too many distractions
Too
at
many
home.
distractions. Yeah, it's hard to cut it off.
It is.
Well, cool. And building samples, and upscaling your line, that's like an investment because you aren't seeing revenue right away from those new pieces. So
exactly.
it takes some money, and that's a great way to build out your company, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you get some, press, and it kind of gives you something to promote and leverage in your PR.
Exactly.
Like, how did that work for you?
This was really kind of my first experience with PR, so I'm super thankful for a lot of the work that Katie put into it. So yeah, that was good. I was able, that the grant press release was featured in a lot of industry publications. I was interviewed for some local publications and for GIA for their quarterly publication and their website. And yeah, just kind of I feel like the more places your name and your jewelry shows up, the better.
Anywhere, right?
Anywhere.
Yeah, I think that's true. So what'd you learn about the PR hustle? Like, it's
a lot
kind
of
of not
work
what
in
you
itself,
think,
and
right?
It's really not what you think it would be.
Yeah, I know. I remember when we first started doing PR here at Halstead, and you just kind of think, oh, like, people just notice.
No.
They just notice when something wonderful happens or something interesting happens, and they come to you, like they call you up, right?
Yeah.
No. No. You got to go get it, right? You got to go get it.
It's like, even in the last month, I feel like I've sent out like at least 50 pitches to different online publications, magazines,
pitches, it's a
yes,
hustle, right?
It's
kind of sending those out, and a lot of times you don't hear anything back from anyone, and
then sometimes
is my
you're
email
like,
working?
Yeah, I mean, more often than not, you might not hear back from anybody.
Yeah. But you know what's interesting about PR, and now that I've been doing this for a long time, one of the things I've learned about PR after all these years is, there's this big black void of no answer a lot of times. But then it's so interesting how years later, it'll come back, and you'll meet someone.
Immediate.
And you'll meet this person, and you'll be like, oh, I know I pitched this person like 5 years ago, and they totally blew me off, right? So you're kind of annoyed, but then they'll be like, oh, I remember you.
Seeing your jewelry.
Yeah, and
whatever.
Your work is familiar, and I love what you're doing, or I love this about your company.
Exactly.
And I've thought of you a few times over the years, and I know something's going to come up where you're just like a fit for our editorial. Because I think you have to understand that all of these, magazines or blogs or whatever they are, they have their editorial calendars and strategies.
Yeah.
They have their goals that they've set, and they're constantly kind of working things and moving things in and out of that. So it doesn't happen on your schedule.
No,
it happens when it happens, right? And so these things can happen a long time later.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it does build, it kind of helps to build that momentum.
It really does. And it's a whole lot of great practice there too, of how do you talk about your work? How do you present it? And you're going to present it differently for different publications or different blogs, different features.
Yeah, that's right. Know your audience, right?
Yeah, you have to know your audience, because it's not like you write one pitch and then you just send it out to 50 people and you just change the name. That's not how it works.
No, and I'm glad you brought that up. It's so important to tailor to the individual publication and what their audience is looking for.
Yeah.
Right? So, let's give some examples of that. So when you're talking to a trade publication, right, you're probably, the audience is probably, other jewelers or retailers, people who are really familiar with jewelry.
Yeah.
And I think that audience is usually a lot more interested in the technical side of what you do.
They want to know kind of more the nuts and bolts.
Yeah, your technique and maybe your inspirations, but also your materials and where you learned, because that's fascinating to us as industry insiders.
Yeah, versus if you're pitching to, you brought up the yoga example. If you're pitching to Yoga Journal, they don't really care about the nuts and bolts of your things.
They don't care at all.
No, they want to know kind of why your necklace or something is going to be of interest to their readers.
And I think that's a great point. So they're more interested in the message,
Yeah.
the inspiration, like your message as a brand, your story.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about story these days,
Yeah.
right? They want a story. So yeah, kind of thinking about those angles and tailoring your pitches, I think is super important.
Yeah. And also embed your photos in the email. Don't send it as attachments because people don't open attachments.
That's true. People hate attachments. There's all these great technical tips, right?
Yeah.
Or Dropboxing and yeah, embedding is super important nowadays, and just like a few like highlights. You don't need to write a whole essay.
Having good photos is really important.
It is. Good photos is important.
Yeah.
You know, and it's important for the grant too. And I'd love to say it's not sometimes because I feel like that's almost a barrier. Like it's expensive, I think, to hire a photographer.
It is.
It's expensive to get the equipment, but it's an investment for your jewelry business, and I think if you're looking at jewelry as a business, those are really investments you need to think about and take seriously.
Yeah.
I know there's a long list of investments, but I would put that kind of up there. I think it matters.
It does.
It does. It's
Yeah,
how you
'cause
present.
It's how you present, and someone's way more likely to buy if there's like a really amazing photo of your jewelry than one that's kind of fuzzy or.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. It's true.
Can you talk a little bit about presentation with the grant?
That's a good question.
Okay.
You did a good job with presentation. Had like a really nice folder and everything was really organized. You did well. So it does matter. Like,
Yeah.
I know, and this seems super trite and obvious, but it's so true. You know, this is, I think as a business, at a certain point, you have to start thinking of everything you produce as a company as something that's going to be consumed by the public as like part of your brand, right?
Yeah.
So when you submit an application, like, you know, put it in a folder or a binder, like add color photos, you know,
Yeah.
put some design and planning into your presentation.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be like a glossy magazine. I'm not saying go that far, but even some basic things like, you know, a nice folder, a 3-ring binder, you know, headings or a table of contents, like all of that, just kind of organization and stuff. It shows care and planning, and it communicates things about your business and your brand, right? I mean, we've literally gotten like crumpled papers, like in an envelope, like some upside down and stuff. And that tells me a lot about like how important this is to you, and how seriously you take your business.
And,
It communicates a lot. And then we, you know, like as judges, we have these piles of things on our table, and you have loose papers like falling all over, and we end up like stapling them together, and then like a page is getting lost because it like slips out. Like it's a mess for us. Like we don't want to manage all that. So yeah, presentation is important. It's true. It's true. And everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and everything you do. I think it's really true as a business. Think about what you're putting out there and what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're here talking with Niki Grandics for anybody else just coming in, and the Halstead Grant 2017 is our 12th year. We are really excited to be awarding a grant for $7,500 to an emerging jewelry artist this summer. I hope it will be one of you watching. So, you know, shoot us your questions. Let us know what you're thinking about. Take a look at the application. Anything look scary? Anything look, you know, super easy or something you want to clarify? Let us know.
The application is due August 1st.
It is due August 1st. I'm glad you said that. Yeah, the deadline this year is August 1st. And, you know, we were saying earlier, you know, maybe start kind of early. I'd say give yourself some time, because some of these questions, the first time you read them, you're going to want to think about them.
Yeah.
You're going to want to think about them.
Because even some that are kind of simpler. I know last year, like the elevator pitch was kind of a new question. Of like, okay, you know, it is a short answer. It's a couple sentences, but
those are the hardest sometimes, the short ones, right? You gotta
I know,
be so
because every
concise.
word counts. You're like, you know, you don't have all this extra to just kind of like ramble on of like details of it. You're like, okay, what is just my main message, like condensed?
I'm gonna make you do an elevator pitch now. Okay, so we get on the elevator. This is your elevator pitch, right? And I am a gallery owner, like your dream gallery. That one, you know the one I'm talking about, right? So everybody has their dream gallery they want to get in.
Yeah.
Okay, so hi, floor 3. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, it's the introduction part where I'm always like,
I know, it's miserable. I'm bad at this too. See? That's the thing. Like, it's not supposed to be easy, right? But it's good to think about this. Okay, so what would you say? Like, a gallery owner you've always wanted to meet steps on the elevator with you. What do you say?
I'm like, oh wow, you know, I've been to your gallery before. I love the variety of jewelry that you have, and just it's such a beautiful space too.
Oh, thank you. Are you in the jewelry business?
I am.
Oh,
I have my own line. It's NG Studio Jewelry.
Cool.
Yeah, so I make pieces with raw stones, like raw diamonds. I use a lot of fair mine materials, and my business is really all about modern, bold design that gives back, too. I work with a lot of nonprofits to kind of help make the world a better place.
Oh, she nailed it.
Good job.
And look, you're wearing some of your work, right? Because
Always.
jewelers are always wearing your work,
always
right?
wear your jewelry.
So is this one of your pieces?
Yeah, it is.
Tell me about this.
So this is one of the pieces from my new line, and this is probably one of the more affordable ones also, and it's just such a versatile piece too. You can layer it with other ones and kind of have a bolder look, or you can just wear it with a t-shirt also. And
Yeah, I love that. That's really pretty.
Thanks.
Well, beautiful. Do you have a card on you?
Always have business cards. I know, it's always like when someone asks you for a card and you don't have one, like, no!
I know, and they seem kind of outdated, but this is the reason you still need them now, right? Exactly what we're talking about, because it's never when you like plan to need them.
No, it's like
It's when it pops up.
Yeah, or even just like random places like the doctor's office, even.
I know.
Yeah.
I've done that in a doctor's office too. It's true.
Yeah.
And we all like email now, and you just kind of take for granted that you're out there on the web, but having a great business card or a postcard or whatever someone can like walk away with matters.
It does.
Because my memory's like this long too, and I'll be like, oh, I met this nice lady on the elevator. And
Oh my god, what was her name?
What was it? She had this great necklace.
Yeah, and I remember she said something about the line. Oh, what was the name of it?
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Well, any other questions you guys can think of before we wrap things up?
Do you want to talk about a little about the resources on halsteadgrant.halsteadb.com?
Awesome, yes. So at halsteadb.com, you can go navigate to the grant page from anywhere on the halsteadb.com website. If you scroll to the bottom, there's a link for the Halstead Grant. And once you get into the grant section of the website, we do have some great resources and articles to kind of help you get thinking about some of these issues we've been talking about, marketing, some tools, an Excel tool to kind of help you think about pricing and salary, all those questions. And like we were talking about, like, there's a lot out there. You just got to kind of start looking, right? So the Halstead Grant website is a great place to start. And then we encourage you to, work the Google on the interweb, right? Yeah. Google on the interweb is an amazing thing. Work those networks and resources. And you can totally do this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one step at a time.
Exactly.
Neither of us had all the answers when we started.
No.
Far, far from it. Nobody does.
No.
So, don't feel intimidated. Just tackle it. You can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it.
It's like everything else. It's one step at a time.
Okay. Great. We've got one more question.
This says, I've always sent a professional grant request letter. Can I send a nice grant request letter to you?
A grant request letter. So it's, the Halstead Grant is a little bit different than some grant writing. So there are a lot of grants out there in the art world, and in the nonprofit world especially. Grant writing is a really different process in terms of proposals and requirements. So I encourage you to get on the Halstead Grant website, download an application, and it's spelled out for you there. Our specific grant application, you don't have to send a letter separately. We ask for a proposal that comes all at once. Pardon me, I think there's 15 questions, and it kind of breaks down what the questions are and gives you kind of some guidelines on how long your responses should be. And then along with answers to those questions, you need to send us, examples of your portfolio, some photographs of your work, a filled out application, and a couple of other items. So it's all spelled out for you on the application there, so go ahead and take a look. All right.
That's great.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone on Facebook Live, this video is going to post to Facebook, so you can always come back to it. Niki, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me out here.
We loved having you here at Halstead, and we are going to be watching you. We're going to be watching you. We're going to be rooting for you, just like we do for all of our winners and finalists. Like, I just love all these amazing, talented people in jewelry. It's so exciting to have you with us.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Good luck.
Good luck.